back for another episode of Live with Dave Palumbo. As always, I'm your host, Anthony Pasquale. I'm excited about this special Halloween edition because today we're going to cover all sorts of things. Dave, I want to dive right in today with something I hear all sorts of stuff on YouTube channels or whatever, just through bodybuilding content. I wish I knew this when I started bodybuilding, right? There's all that narrative. Right. Well, here's what I never hear anybody talk about that I wish someone had told me. I wish someone had told me when I got into bodybuilding, I was going to destroy all of my teeth with microfractures from my muscle tenseness and squeezing my freaking jaw my whole life. So I want to start with that today. So have you had these issues like I'm having now with fractures in my teeth?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Just recently I started having problems. The dentist thinks I'm grinding my teeth at night because I'm noticing all these little chips, like you said, in my teeth. So I actually had a mouthpiece made. That you wear at night. It's like they mold your teeth. I've done videos on it. They made a mistake 40 times making this thing for me, but it fits in your mouth and it's like a retainer almost. It pops in there. It just goes on the top of your teeth, not your bottom, and you can grit all you want on that, and you're not going to crack your teeth. And you know what? I highly recommend it because since I've been wearing it, I really haven't gotten any. But I'll tell you this: sometimes you know how you fall asleep on the couch, you can take a little nap. I'll wake up with a chip missing just from a nap. So that's how much I must grind. Now I don't know if it's because I have more stress in my life or more, with kids and more responsibility, because I never did it before. I never grinded my teeth, and so I don't know why it happened or if my teeth are just getting weaker as I'm getting older. But I certainly don't want to lose my teeth because I'm chewing them to death. And so I think the key is if you are doing that and the dentist is noticing there are little chips missing, then you should probably look into it. They're not cheap, but they last pretty much forever. They're made. I mean, you could throw the thing against the wall. You'll break a hole in the wall before that thing will break. So it's pretty durable, and like I said, it's pretty comfortable. It doesn't really bother me. I know a lot of people actually lift with mouthpieces. Believe it or not, when I was in jail for the 5 months I was there was a dentist in there, and I think he got in trouble for writing scripts for OxyContin, and then he was writing them, and his friends were filling them, and he was using them. Whatever the case may be, he told me the best thing you can do if you want to increase your strength in the gym is wear a mouthpiece that aligns your jaw, and it will make you at least 15 to 20% stronger. And I never tried it, but he swore by it, he said.
I've heard similar things like that before through some sort of powerlifting channels. Additional question I have for you, because I don't grind. So when I went to the dentist about 2 years ago, they noticed a little bit. And I always thought, I listened to even a Joe Rogan podcast a few years ago where he mentioned that he's having the same issue that we are. And then he realized he does it when he was working out. And then I noticed that it makes sense. If you're doing 800-pound squats or something, sometimes you might be clamping down. Right. So I always thought that was my issue. But after speaking with the dentist more frequently, they said, listen, you're not grinding. Yours is clamping. He said oftentimes the tightness isn't even in the jaw. It's in other muscular areas. And then when you're sleeping, those are clamping. And so I hadn't been using a mouthpiece like you said. I got one a couple years ago. Yeah. And it isn't an annoyance. It's actually easy. If you get a good one, it's comfortable. But what scared me, what he said to me, and I guess this is relevant to you, he said, listen, he goes, you don't have a problem now. He goes, but if you don't use it consistently, he goes, you might be that guy in 20 years that actually develops severe migraines and arthritis through your jaw system. So it's better we get ahead of this now because that's actually what it turns into. I want people to know if you're prone to it or if when you go to the dentist, hopefully you are. All bodybuilders go get their blood work done, hopefully, but a lot of them skimp on the dentistry work. But you got to go because this shit can burn you later on in life.
If you saw all the rituals that I have before I go to bed, and I keep adding on to it because now I got a mouthpiece. I can't just go to bed. Like I know people that all right, I'm tired, I'm done watching TV, or and they go and they lay in the bed and go to sleep. I can't do that. I have to go. I have to floss my teeth. Then I got to mouthwash. Then I got to brush my teeth with the electric toothbrush. Then I got to wash my face with the cleanser because the soap overdries my skin. Then I can't go to bed unless sometimes I'll either take a shower or sometimes I'll just put my head under the shower and I'll wash my hair with shampoo because I don't like to have a greasy, I'm a greasy Italian. I don't like to have a greasy head on my pillow because it feels uncomfortable. Then I got to take my contact lenses out. Then I got a new thing because I got dry eyes. I got to get they have these wipes that you can wipe the, I guess you could say right this part of your eye here. And it will unblock. Sometimes you have ducts there that can get blocked, and it will release them so that you don't get dry eyes. Then I gotta Then you gotta let that dry. Then I gotta take the mouthpiece and remember to put that in my mouth. And then recently, all of a sudden, for some reason, I have like this athlete's foot on my foot. I don't even know where I got it from. I never even wear bare feet. I don't take showers anywhere but my house. So I've been spraying my feet down. And then I put socks on. I mean, it takes me literally an hour to get. And I got to go to the bathroom because I took my fiber an hour ago. I got so many rituals before I go to bed. And as I'm getting older, they're adding on more and more and more. I don't even. Oh, I forgot the newest ritual. My good friend Jay Campbell gave me his A-Sear product for hair growth. So the step one is you spray the first one on when you get out of the shower and you massage that in. That's the copper peptide. And then when that dries, then you have to spray the oil thing that helps the penetration. It's like a carbon 90 polymer that helps the penetration of the copper peptide into your head. And then so that's another whole step. And then he gave me this cream. It's like a copper peptide cream. You can like put on your legs and stuff like that, or wherever if you have a cut on you. So I usually do my lower legs because I figured he's giving it to me anyway. I want to try it so that I can give good feedback to the people who what. So I mean, it's like one ritual after another. Literally I cannot go to sleep. It takes a whole 45 minutes to an hour to get ready. I don't know if you have the similar things because I know you're a little bit OCD like I am.
I'm surprisingly with night. I'm actually pretty casual with that. I think as I'm aging, it's going to get more and more. My morning rituals are complicated. My evenings aren't so bad. It's more or less, I just shower and I brush and I floss, and that's it. I don't think I've ever washed my face. So, and I don't really grow any hair. So I nair my body once a month. But other than that, that part's pretty basic. But I thought of two things as you said all of that. The first thing I thought of when you mentioned greasy Italian, I was picturing like the original Coming to America when everyone gets off the couch with the Soul Glow and they all have their imprinted perm afros and the thing. I'm picturing that on your sheets with your wife.
I put because of the stuff I put on my head because it's oil based. I put a towel now on my pillow. Of course, I don't have a normal pillow. I have the chiropractic pillows, which supports your neck back there. Which, by the way, since I've been using it. Amazing sleep. My neck is never out of alignment. It actually adjusts your neck while you're sleeping. And the good thing is the chiropractic pillow, what it is it's like indented and then there's like a little bit, there's like a ledge. So when it puts your neck into a right position and then to each side of your head, it's raised up. So if you turn to lay on your side, your head is even with your body. It's ingenious. It seems like the stupidest thing, but I'm telling you, if you sleep with this pillow and you get used to it, you'll never want to sleep on a regular pillow again.
Where do you buy? Do I go to a chiropractor or where do you buy something?
I bought it from my chiropractor, but they sell them online too.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. And the other thing that made me think of it, maybe you have a random one-off ritual you did. Now I learned this one literally when I was like 13, so we're going back like 1995. I have older brothers, and people are into all sorts of things. This is back when like you put peanut butter on a hickey and comb it in. So what my brother used to tell me, I don't know if it works or not. It doesn't matter. I encourage people to do this because it's hilarious. Yeah. If you take an egg yolk and you batter it up like it's, just the room temp, egg yolk, break it open, rub it on your face and let it sit for 10 minutes. I swear to God, your face gets so stiff that if you smile, you'll crack open your skin. But it's an amazing feeling of your face can't move. You cannot move your face. So if anyone wants to make a funny video and post it to themselves.
I thought there was some kind of health benefit to this. There's nothing.
It's supposed to dry out your face and get rid of acne. That's maybe all the nutrients. I don't know, but it's just fun.
It's another ritual. You're giving me another ritual, in other words, to do at night.
Yeah, well, just try it on one of the kids and see them flip out. So it's pretty funny. I don't think if it does anything, it might be bad for you, but it's worth trying.
Thank God it doesn't do anything. All I need is another thing to have to do at night.
Well, speaking of this actually ties right into my next question for you today. Maybe you talk about this, but I haven't heard you mention it too many times. So my initial question for you is, I know you put in some sort of basic home gym, and I'm guessing it's upstairs in your place. Have you roughly ballparking it? What kind of stuff do you have in there? What kind of initial investment is it? And how many days a week are you in there?
Well, now I actually go to the gym because my youngest, my 2-year-old, is actually in school. So right after we drop them off, we go right to the gym. So I'm there at 8:45. I'm done by 9:30, the most. I work out 45. And then I'm out of there. So I do that 4 days a week. But before, when I was training at home during the whole COVID thing, and before we had them all in school, I had basically had like Life Fitness cable crossover setup. So you can pretty much do almost everything on there because you can do arms. I do all my arms on cable stuff anyway. You can do chest kind of, with cables and with like cable crossovers and stuff like that. I had a bench that inclines, adjustable bench, like an industrial one, not like a home one. And I have dumbbells from 10 to 40 pounds, which was fine because I remember I was still rehabbing from the shoulder replacement. So that worked well. Now I'm up obviously heavier than that. I'm purposely trying to keep myself under 60-pound dumbbell presses because I just don't want to wear away these joints. I'm not trying to set any records, but that's what I was doing. So everything, it was either dumbbell work, which was great because it was all free. Free weights work really well. I couldn't really do legs at home. That was the only thing I was doing, like that stupid, you put the ankle cuff on with the inner, outer, abductor, adductor, kickback type stuff. My legs really suffered for those 2 years. They definitely went down. And since I've been back in the gym for about, maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe 2 months since August, my legs have grown really pretty well. Just from doing like basics, leg press and extensions and curls. My legs always respond really well. But I had never taken that much time off doing legs. But I think I was actually getting weaker. My gait was all off and everything like that. So, but the initial investment, we did spend a decent amount of money. It was like about a $3,000 piece, that Life Fitness. But we went a little above. We did like a really commercial grade type one. I would say probably I spent under $4,000 for all the equipment. Way under that. Maybe $3,500. Yeah, the only thing I would have added, Anthony, if I would have continued to train at home, I probably would have gotten like a machine that you can do extensions and curls on, like you can reverse it around. This way I could have trained my legs a little bit more. Because I could always squat, holding dumbbells and stuff like that if I wanted to. But once again, I probably could have done it all cheaper if I hadn't gone for that one big piece. But I wanted something that was solid, that wasn't going to break or fall apart.
Did you guys get any sort of cardio thing, or you don't have any cardio?
She already had a treadmill, and she had a stepper already there. Actually, she had one of those stair machines too. But when we moved, it was so big. Mel Chansey actually took that one. He bought that one from us, from her old house. He still uses it. He's got it in his garage. But it's a big piece. It took up a lot of room.
Well, that's good. Because I never shopped for that stuff, I was going to reach out to Jason because he built his own thing, kind of like Aaron. These guys build their own gyms, and I was curious, But so did people come set it up for you, or did you guys have to?
That's one of the things why we went to Life Fitness, because Life Fitness will send someone there and they build the whole thing. So I did nothing. The only thing I did was bring the dumbbells up the steps because I actually found someone on like the Cape Coral Marketplace on Facebook who was selling the dumbbells. And I went to their house, and they were freaking out when I showed up because they were like, "Oh shit, Dave Palumbo!" But they were kind of like rusted a little, and I just basically my mother-in-law, I just threw a few dollars, and she sanded them down and she repainted them. They're like brand new. You would think because dumbbells were hard to get if you remember when COVID started because not everyone wanted, their own home stuff. So I had bought it right before that because I was still training at home before COVID hit, and like I said, I had everything I needed there. I didn't want anything too heavy because I didn't want the kids, messing with it too much. But you really don't need that much stuff to do basics. I'll tell you what, though, I really like going to the gym. I hate training at home. It is convenient, yes, but I like to go to the gym and get out and do it there. I'm much faster. I don't waste as much time. I get in, I get out.
Interesting. And I had a question for you with that, but you just answered it with the other part. Question I have for you, I'm going to make an interesting segue to the right. Actually, I do have one additional question for you with it. So when you were doing it either from home, do you still kind of do a conventional bodybuilding pyramiding style, or do you kind of, actually forget that. What were you doing for back? Anything for back?
Yes, because what I would do is I'd grab the low pulley, and this is good for people. This is a good I still do it even in the gym. And I had a long bar, but I was too lazy to put it on there, so I'd grab like the short bar, and I'd literally lean over and I'd do bent over rows with it. Now the stack was a little light for me, but I was getting I was really working the muscle a lot better than I had in the past rather than just, hurling up the weight. I have good form anyway, but I think I got a lot of good development from that. My lower lats really got good because I had them just squeezed because I only had so much weight on the stack. And then I would do seated rows. So I'd sit down and I'd grab that same bar and I'd pull. Obviously, I'd have to basically, keep my form good because there's no like bench I'm on. And then I would actually put it on the high pulley and I'd sit on the floor and I'd do pull downs with it. And it comes with a long bar too, so you can do the long bar as well if you wanted to. But once again, I like a narrower grip on pull downs anyway. So I did that, and I would do one arm rows with the cable on the low pulley. So you can really do everything you want. I mean, there's no body part you can't do. The hardest one to do, like I said, was chest because, I didn't have dumbbells that were that heavy, And so if I had 50s or 60s, I think I would have been perfect at that point.
Yep. We were talking about all sorts of, numerous times on your channel, I've heard you go over all sorts of, baby making, TRT, post-cycle therapy protocols, right? Before I get into that, and from a different kind of way that I haven't heard you always talk about, let's focus on the female component for a moment. So as you had your 3 children, right, did you, in regards to Amanda, did you guys ever change anything up? Like I remember when when your second one was on the way, I remember you telling me that Amanda was maybe using some Omega-Lyze and maybe V-Mineralize. Yeah. So can you just, for men out there maybe that want to have a family or their wives, or they want to, what type of insights would you offer them from a female's perspective for health, wellness, and supplementation?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people, it's amazing how many people have actually contacted me and said that they used the protocol, or they had contacted me and I sent it to them. Obviously, I send it to people for free, and it worked. I mean, like hundreds of people. Flex Lewis just texted me the other day and thanked me. He's having a boy is on the way, and then he'll be back on the stage. But people ask me sometimes, what could women take? And usually, as far as bodybuilders are concerned, it's usually the man's fault. Like the women are very infrequently the problem. But a lot of women take prenatal vitamins once they get pregnant, but really you should start taking these vitamins prior to getting pregnant, believe it or not. And the Omega-Lyze is a great product because essential fatty acids are really important for brain development. Obviously, we know about folic acid. So what I usually have people do is use my V-Mineralize because you want to use a very high potency multivitamin, multi-mineral for men and women. For men, it's important for the morphology, which is the structure of the sperm. For women, obviously, you don't want to be mineral deficient, okay? You don't want to be folic acid deficient for sure, because obviously that's important in the neural tube or the spinal column of the fetal development. And you want to have good folic acid levels in your blood prior to getting pregnant. So you just don't want to add it in afterwards. I mean, it's better to do it prior to that. Those two are the most important. Remember, the nervous system of the fetus is made from fat. It's not made from really protein or anything else. So if it's fat and minerals essentially, and vitamins. So those are the most important components. That's why you can eat a crappy diet, but if you're mineral deficient sometimes, or you're deficient in a certain fatty acid, that could. And we don't even know how some of these deficiencies might manifest themselves in the baby. We only know certain ones. We know the really bad ones. You don't have enough folic acid, you get neural tube defects. But what about if you don't get enough essential fats or you don't have enough fat in your diet, is it affecting the brain development of the fetus? No one's really done studies, and I don't even know how you would track that. It's a little harder. So I tell people, those prenatal vitamins they give you suck. It's like taking a Centrum basically with a little extra folic acid. You want to use a high potency multivitamin, multi-mineral, and essential fatty acid product, and that's really what you should use as a bodybuilder anyway. So if you're taking the right stuff for your bodybuilding and your health and fitness purposes, the only thing I would do is add a little bit more folic acid, and you probably don't even need that, but it can't hurt.
Gotcha. And speaking of morphology, motility, things of this sort, for people that are unfamiliar with this, when you go want to have a family, or you go and get your sperm, it's not just about your total count, it's about all these other parameters, right? So here's a question for you. You and I have gone back and forth on this privately over years. So me personally, I'll use myself as an example. When I first initially started, I had less than, honestly, I'm not exaggerating, less than 700,000 sperm, which is ridiculously low. And then eventually I got those numbers up by doing some really crazy things, up to around 120 million. But even with 120 million, once you factor in the motility morphology, I still didn't have a lot of high quality sperm. I was still below the threshold of where I needed to be. Did you personally notice in your journey if you ever had any of those issues? And was that ever an issue for you, or was that not an issue as you were trying to have children?
When I went into it, because Amanda thought, oh, you're never going to get me pregnant. We're going to have to do this and that. I said, believe me, this is the science project. I'm very good at science projects, I said. There's sperm number. You can get sperm number up very quickly with taking HCG, HMG, Clomid type stuff. But the motility, their ability to swim, basically, is a little more difficult, and sometimes it could take up to 3 to 6 months to get them working right. I found out through the birth of my third kid, who I only was taking glutathione for, injectable glutathione. I found that, and then I did some research, that is a really good motility increaser. So if you have motility problems with the swimming problems, take 200 milligrams of glutathione a day, injectable, and you'll see that dramatically improve. And then there's morphology, which is the shape of the sperm, how healthy they are, and it makes sense that the sperm would be healthier and have better shape and morphology if you take a good vitamins. If you give your body the right essential nutrients, that's going to not only help your own body, it's going to help the morphology of the sperm. So if you can do all three of those things, you're pretty much good to go. Now, I didn't check any of that, okay? I just knew what I needed to do. I never went and gave a sperm sample and saw anything. I was almost this close because, she was getting frustrated, but I always got her pregnant just right before, she made me go see the urologist type of thing. Because I knew it was just, look, it's also a luck thing. It's not, when I had my first two, it was a pain in the neck to get her pregnant. The third time, I wasn't taking anything. And I was just doing glutathione, and who knew that helped, And she got pregnant, so really easily. It was crazy. So I always tell people, a lot of times when you put a lot of pressure on the process, that sometimes alone makes it hard to get pregnant because you're changing hormonal balances in people's body. You're stressing. The stress hormones screw things up. If you just take the pressure away from the process and just let it be, I promise you'll get unless there's something wrong with one of you. You know what I mean? Sometimes guys don't have any sperm coming out of them. So they think that they're fine and they don't even produce any sperm. Or the woman has a tipped uterus or something like that, or a tipped fallopian tube, and they can't release an egg, so they have to get IVF. But aside from that, it'll happen if you both are healthy.
Mm-hmm. A follow-up question I have for you that you don't usually get to expand upon within your own channel, most likely, but I'm curious about is, obviously by now you're probably familiar, well then again, you're so inundated with all the things you do, with a guy like a Jordan Peterson who's very popular online, especially for men. Yeah. And one of his big narratives is he says oftentimes, hey, if you're a male or a female and you're in your career and you're doing what you're doing between the ages of 30 and 50, that's great. But you'll find oftentimes that people, once you hit 50 and move on, if you didn't have kids, your life is going to probably feel empty in a lot of ways, a lot of times for a lot of people. And as my first question for you is, was there ever a point in your life where you didn't think you wanted to be a father, or did you always know that was something you wanted?
In the back of my head, I wanted it, but not yet. That was always my thing. Not yet, And with that attitude, sometimes you can go too long. Now, luckily for us men, it really doesn't matter how old we are, in a sense. We always can get, a woman pregnant, assuming we have a woman who's the right age, right? So when Amanda and I started dating, we mentioned it. I mentioned it. Yeah, I want kids, she wants kids, but there was never like a date put on it or anything like that. But at some point, we said we better start trying, because I'm not getting any younger. And, she wasn't old, but she was like 35, but that was the time. So the key is, and I always tell this to people, you have to find the right person. I never felt like I was with the right person at the right time to do it. Like, I didn't want to do it while I was in the midst of my bodybuilding career because I knew that I would be a terrible father because I was only interested in bodybuilding and myself. So how could you be a good father if that's the case? So I knew that was not the right time to do it. When I actually was kind of done bodybuilding, I was still trying to build my career in a sense, between the Species Nutrition Company and RX Muscle. So I knew that really wasn't the time either. And then I hit kind of a point where things started to level off a little bit in terms of I was more solidified, my income was stable, I was not really worried about traveling every single weekend. So and that's when I knew it was time. I said, okay, it's the time. I tell people all the time, don't put pressure on the process. It'll happen. As long as you have it in your mind that that's what you want, then everything will align itself perfectly when it's supposed to. And I think that sometimes people get panicky and they have children before they're ready. And then they, the kids suffer, they suffer, or the relationship isn't really solid, and then they wind up splitting up, and now the kid is dealing with two parents that are divorced, and they're fighting over the kid. So I didn't want that to be the situation. I wanted to be in a very stable environment with someone I really wanted to be with, and someone that was going to be a good mother to my kids. And so I waited, until I found that situation. Had I not found that situation, I probably wouldn't have kids right now.
Mm-hmm. And do you think, in a hypothetical bubble, if you hadn't had children or something like that, did having children and now at this point in your life, does it add did it add any sort of pressure? Yes. Did it change the way you approach business? Even like, hey, you got to be able to save more for colleges and tuitions, and is that like the kind of thing, or like how did it change your trajectory in those ways?
I think it gives you more of a reason to obviously be around. Obviously, because I'm at the end of the day, I'm a teacher by nature, and I teach everyone else out there. It'd be nice to spread some of my knowledge to my children. So yeah, I mean, it definitely adds. It's hard to explain to people until you actually have kids. It's like now these little people are dependent on you, so to speak, and everything that they see in their life, everything that they're exposed to, is going to influence how they are in the future. So that's a tremendous responsibility as a parent. But it gives you definitely a reason to take good care of yourself, to make sure that you're around, because now these kids' life depend on you, and you don't want to not be there for them to be an influence. Because I lost my mom when I was 14. Now she was there for a good portion of my childhood, but it definitely had an influence on me, a negative influence on me for not being there. So I definitely want to be there for my kids. So yeah, I mean, it definitely, for a lot of people, they don't have a million interests. Like I have a million interests, like also aside from that, I breed snakes, the bodybuilding. So for me, I'll never be bored, but it certainly adds another level of like, this is cool. Like now I get to be a father, I get to go do the sport thing and go to school and teach my kid math and science. And so it's like you're almost reliving your own childhood again, so to speak. And it's cool. There's definitely a cool factor there. But if it's not the right setup, it could be a disaster, because I have friends who have, bad marriages and terrible divorces, and they're in court, the kids fighting over the kid. That's not a good scenario. So you really have to make sure, don't just do it because you're like bored and you think, oh, let me have a couple kids because it'll make my life better. It can make your life a lot worse too if the situation isn't right.
So with Halloween looming here any day, what are you guys doing?
Before this whole COVID thing, we took my daughter, my third daughter wasn't born yet, but we took my daughter and my son trick-or-treating. There was a place here in Cape Coral where everyone goes, and they just walk like 3 blocks, and everyone's got candy, and everyone's outside their house, and it was so much fun, and they loved it so much. And then with COVID, I don't even know if they're doing it anymore. I would love to do it if it is available, because the kids love to dress up and get candy. I mean, who doesn't? And I love to watch the whole thing. To me, it's the coolest thing, because I remember when I was a kid, I used to have a route in my head. Like I knew exactly which houses I had to go to. And my parents had this thing that you can trick or treat as long as you want once you get home from school, but you got to be back by dark, before it gets dark, which sucked because it was always like daylight savings was like the week before Halloween. And I had like an hour and a half I was like running from house to house to make sure I got to everything. And I knew that I was going to get yelled at, and the sun's coming down, and I was like having like anxiety because I missed a couple of the good houses, type of thing. But so it's cool if I can get the kids to go out again, that would be nice this year.
Is this something you were like doing with your sister, or were you just solo doing your own thing?
No, I had to take my sister with me at some point, so she had to really be booking. But my sister liked to eat candy, so she was on the, even though she was 4 years younger than me, she was on the ball and on the program. And then what we would do is we'd go back to my house, when it got dark, and me being the shyster that I would sit down and I would connive my sister out of. We would do trades. I would get all the candy that she had that I wanted, and I'd give her all the crap that I didn't want, and I would make her think that she was getting the greatest stuff of all time,
That's funny. She's getting the shitty candy. There's always that shitty candy.
The truth is, my sister would eat anything. She didn't care. It's funny because she's so thin now and in such good shape now. When she was a kid, she did no athletics, and she just loved junk food. It was crazy,
So does the fast metabolism run in the family? Did someone have it?
I think so. I don't think the women's metabolisms in my family are that good, but I've seen my father was fat at some points in our childhood when he would stop smoking. But if he went on a diet, and he didn't even know what he was doing, I think he just cut back his food and the junk, he would lose weight really fast. So I have a feeling that I think the fast metabolism definitely runs in the family.
And final Halloween question for you here.
Yes.
Growing up, or actually even now, was there ever a movie that even as an adult scared the shit out of you when you would watch it?
Yes, even now. The Shining, the original Shining with Jack Nicholson. I was petrified. Matter of fact, I had nightmares from watching. They would put the commercials when the movie first came out. They'd have the commercial. People don't even know this. They used to have commercials for the movie, and they would show Jack Nicholson with that psychotic look. He was limping with the axe he had, and I would have nightmares. And finally, when we were kids, when I was a kid, HBO was all there was, and so they had The Shining came on HBO, and I was I wanted to see it so bad, but I was so petrified, and I think it was rated R, which was, one of those movies that you weren't allowed to see as a kid. But my parents said, "All right, you can see it." I sat because my parents loved Jack Nicholson. I didn't know that he was. I thought he was just a psychopath. I didn't know, and I watched this movie, and I had nightmares for my whole childhood from that movie. I still do when I think about it.
I remember when I saw that movie, I was probably around like 11. I was at a friend's house. Someone put it on. But the part that mortified me is just like anyone else. There's a lot of parts is when that woman with the boils in the shower. And that shit's nasty.
It was I think Stanley Kubrick did that movie, right?
Definitely.
Who did 2001: A Space Odyssey. And he was a little nuts too, and very, very creative. But it was a really scary mind F movie that really, And the funny thing was, when I was in 10th grade, I had an English teacher who loved Stephen King, and he actually had us read the book. The book was scary. I got news for you. It was like I had just gotten over the movie thing. I'm in 10th grade now, and I read the book, and I had nightmares again. The book was even more scary than the movie was, and it ends a little differently. The movie kind of had almost like well, the book I think actually was better, the ending. I don't want to tell anyone in case they want to read it, but the book was scary just reading it at night. I was like looking around and hearing sounds and stuff like that. That's how scary the book was,
Interesting. Well, I'll piggyback on it just for those out there listening. If you're into wanting to read a book, or maybe because of my thought process this year, especially when you don't have kids, it's like, how do you get into the spirit of, whatever the season is? So I thought to myself, I'm going to read some of the most popular horror stories ever written, fiction stories, and that'll be just kind of something. So last week, I read Hell House, which Stephen King called the scariest haunted house book ever written.
Did he write that?
Pretty good. No, he didn't write that. The guy actually that wrote Hell House, I'm forgetting the name, also wrote Stir of Echoes and I Am Legend, among other really famous movies. Yeah. And that was just really good. I was able to breeze through that in 3 days. And then the other day from the house, I watched the newest Michael Myers Halloween movie that came out. And that actually I really enjoyed from the way they did their soundtrack over, I thought was really good. It was a lot more aggressive. I'm basically calling it a Michael John Wick Myers now because it was such a violent film. One random bodybuilding question to wrap this baby up today. I don't think I've ever heard you expand on this too much. Did plenty of off seasons and in-season things with you. When I worked with Hani for a little bit, the one thing that surprised me with him was in his off season, he loved you to eat tons of fruit. Is there any reason why someone in theory would want someone eating lots of fruit in the off season? The only person I remember doing that was Lee Haney a lot.
Yeah, to me, my metabolism was so fast, and I liked fruit. I just liked the taste of fruit. But I had to eat so many calories, that were potent calories. And when I say potent calories, I mean fat, protein, and obviously some good quality carbs, so I can build muscle. That I really felt like fruit took up a lot of room in my stomach, and it really was kind of a lot of fibery, watery type stuff. And I felt like it was wasting space, so to speak. And so I didn't really eat a lot of fruit. I was really focused more on dense calories. And because, once again, fruit was almost like it would kill my appetite. And here I am trying to eat 8 times a day, and I just didn't like it. So I don't see what benefit fruit has in terms of anything other than roughage. A lot of people who don't understand about fiber, we've talked to fiber a million times about my fiber-lysed product. By taking a fiber product, a high-potency fiber product that's psyllium-based, it really allows you to eliminate a lot of vegetables and fruits from your diet and still be able to eliminate toxins and waste from your body efficiently. And let's face it, as bodybuilders, we want the food that's going to build and repair muscle. We don't want to be wasting space fruits and vegetables. Plus, you know what? The fruits and vegetables don't even have a lot of vitamins and minerals anyway because the soil is so devoid of that. So it's not like you're getting that from that. The only thing you really get from fruits and vegetables really is fiber. And it's not even really soluble fiber. It's mostly insoluble fiber. So I tell people in an off-season scenario, you're better off having a high-potency fiber supplement and just focusing on the basics that you need to build and repair muscle. And, to me, that's a better way to do it. There's nothing wrong with eating fruits as long as you can get your regular food down, too.
I am going to go to bat for you here because I genuinely never read comments on things. I just breeze through to see if people have questions, if they've had good experiences, bad experiences with Baba. And when I went through that, occasionally I will read people say, oh, all fibers created equal. Listen, this is what I would say to anybody if they've never tried your Fiberlize. I encourage you, go buy the Metamucil if you want, go buy the Equate brand, try it for a month, and then if you take Fiberlize, tell me your stool doesn't look different. There's a big friggin' difference, people. So if you're fully, just try it, and I don't care what anyone online says. When you compare them, you can objectively see in your shithole that there's a big difference in how it looks. So, and the same thing's going to apply to my stuff. You know what? If you're ever going to consider taking some sort of immunity product or some sort of brain product, the ones I make really are the best. I'm not the number one selling in the world because I don't have $1 billion to work with, and I don't have unethical doctors to support me to put this thing on Dr. Phil. But VavaLife.com, please check it out. I really do make the best stuff within my space, and Dave's making some of the best stuff in his space.
Now
so
you're doing a Halloween sale, right?
Yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it. I'll come up with it now. Promo code SCARY. We'll get you 20% off.
Scary 20. Let's do Scary 20 so people know it's 20% off at VavaLife.com. Maybe you can pull up the website, Tyler. I use all these products every single day. I use the Monad, I use the Wisdom, and I love it. I feel very mentally, focused. I don't really have any. I get cold sores occasionally, but never when I'm on that product religiously. So I try to take them every single day. I kind of just add it to my stack of multivitamins. But you know what, Anthony? It's very hard, and most people don't have a problem with it. But there's always some wise ass comments in the videos, and people think that like I'm pushing my own products, and you know what? I'm pushing what works. Before I ever had a supplement line, and anyone who's followed me on the internet since the early 90s when I first got on the internet knows that I pushed everyone else's products. So if I had if I wanted to, I lost my microphone here for a second, hold on. If I wanted to help someone with joint support, I would tell them go out to GNC and buy glucosamine sulfate and get MSM and take 4 grams of this in the morning and 4 grams of that at night. And so I generically gave people prescriptions of what supplements work the best. I used to sell my friend Steve Reeves. He had his own protein line, not the Steve Reeves, another Steve Reeves. He had his own protein line, and I would sell like hundreds of tubs of his protein because it was very high quality and it was affordable. It came in like spackle buckets. I would keep them in my trunk. It wasn't my own. I sold those because that was the best available for the best price. And when I decided to make my own product line, I said, I'm going to make products that I recommend that people take. Not that I'm going to make money off of, but that, because when I first came out with Fiberlife, people told me I was nuts. They're like, no one's going to buy a fiber product. What are you wasting your time? You're not going to make any money. I said, I don't care. I use it. I need a high quality fiber supplement that's psyllium based and that has a high swell rate psyllium, and I'm going to make it. If people don't want to use it, they won't use it. I don't care. And sure enough, because it works and because it does what it's supposed to do, everyone uses it. And once they start using it, they don't stop using it. So I'm not trying to plug just my own. I'm plugging stuff that works. And if I can make it, then great. Why not? Why shouldn't I make a few bucks off of all the years of educating people and learning by trial and error what works and what doesn't work? And same thing with you. You had, you always suffered from cold sores. You told me that it was something, and you were always worried about, mental, being mentally sharp and having any kind of, deterioration as you got older. So that's the products you made, and you went out and researched what the best ingredients were, and you put it in a product. And of course, you're going to recommend yours because yours are the best. I mean, you're not going to make an inferior product and say you should use mine because they're cheaper. That would be ridiculous,
Exactly. I couldn't have wrapped it up any better. I wasn't planned, and just for people that don't know, that even the whole reason why I came together for an interview today was because you texted me on the other day and said, hey, do you need any fiber? And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. You're like, all right, send me this. So that's literally how this
Well, we
comes
trade.
about.
I give him Fiberlize. He gives me, his products, and
Yeah, because I told you, I was like, Dave, I literally was in Montana and I take this shit with me. Like, I can't live without it. And that's why
Well, I think we both have the same number of months supply. So when my Monad and Wisdom run out, that's when your Fiberlize is running out, and so it's time to trade again.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to wrap up this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Yep. I'll talk to you. Thanks,
All
Dave.
right. Thanks, Dan.